Our next storyteller has a story about how I found my estranged son after 11 years. Please welcome Chris Hennessy.
Good afternoon. I did. I found my estranged son after 11 years. He did not have an internet presence, so he was not easy to find. But when I found the address a couple weeks later, I drove down to the Bay Area and I found his apartment building and I entered. And the next thing I knew, I was standing at the door of my son. I knocked lightly. I heard a TV on in the background, and I knocked lightly again, and the sound of the TV went off. I walked around to the back of his apartment. All the shades were closed, even on the porch. There wasn't any sign of life, but I had a feeling that he was there, and I came back around again, and I knocked a few more times, no answer. Shane, it's Dad. I just want to see you. I just want to talk to you for a couple of minutes. Could you please come out? I knocked again and nothing. So I walked out dejectedly to my car. I had parked in a shaded spot. It was a hot day. It was the only shaded spot in the lot. It was 90 degrees. And I had sat in my car, turned the air conditioning on. I felt comfortable. And I called up a buddy of mine who's been like a mentor to me for many years. And I was very down. And why would my son, after all these years, not want to talk to me? The communication with my buddy was working, and all of a sudden in my rearview mirror, I saw one and then two big, huge, young, handsome Bay Area cops. My son had called the cops. I get out of the car. And I was talking to the one officer. The other officer started walking away into the lot. And this tall, handsome, young man was walking this way. And I don't see as well as I used to, but I looked carefully and I saw that wavy hair with blonde streaks and that handsome face. It was my son. It was my first time getting a glimpse of my little buddy boy in 11 years. I remember the time he came home from school and he was telling me about a bridge they learned at in school. And it was the Golden Gates Bridge. And to this day, when I'm in conversation with somebody and I have to say the name of that bridge, I say, yeah, you have to go over the Golden Gates Bridge. And I don't think anybody ever catches it. The next day we were on a walk and he looked up in the mountains and he said, he was 5 years old. He said, see those mountains? That's America. So my memories I have of my son growing up, I coached all of his teams in baseball and basketball and cross country. The officer and him finished their conversation. And in the meantime, I talked to the other officer, and there Shane went walking away out of my life again after 11 years. I had done some research and I knew that estranged adult children don't call up their parents and say, hey, Mom and Dad, next Tuesday at 3:00, I'm cutting you off. And I don't know, I won't be speaking to you for 10 or 20 years. They just stop communicating, leaving you in the complete dark. It's very difficult. The officer came over to me and he said, he doesn't want you here. Next time you're here, it'll be trespassing. Wow. In my mind, I said to the cop, but I explained to him like I explained to the other officer, and the other officer was a big, tall, handsome, Asian, NFL-looking dude. My father, who was a New York City cop, would have loved this guy because when I talked, he looked at me and he paid attention. The other officer, I said, sir, I mean no harm. I just want to see my son. It's been 11 years since I've seen him and I found him. Unfortunately, officer, the prostate cancer I've been battling for 15 years recently went into my lungs. And I'm fearful that unless my son comes back to me soon, I'll never see him again. And the officers, I understand, but he doesn't want you here. It's going to be trespassing. So I'm going to have to ask you to leave now. Got in my car. The two officers were there. And as I pulled out of the spot, I looked over. The one officer that was the mean one was writing in his book. The other officer who listened to me was standing like this as I drove off. And I thought to myself, it appears that he's at the funeral procession of one of his fellow officers. And then I thought, you know what? This guy gets it. He understands my predicament. And it really gave me a little bit of comfort. I drove out of the parking lot teary-eyed, and about a mile up, I stopped and I called the two people I trust the most. My friend Jordan, who said, Chris, I've known you for 25 years. I've seen you with your kids. You were the best dad. You gave them a lot of time. You taught me to be a better dad. Live your life, dude. Keep on going. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. Hung up with Jordan. I called up my wife. And when I explained to my wife, as my son walked away, I had said, Shane, I just wanted to speak to you. I wanted to see you. I'm here for you anytime. Please call or reach out to me. I'm always here for you. And Shane walked away. When I told my wife what I had said to Shane, she said, Chris, he heard your message. That'll be in his head for a really long time. You did the right thing. You were a great dad. You were a great husband. I love you. We hung up the phone. I was still very dejected and very sad, but very comfortable in my car and very relaxed, which is a weird combination. I wanted to do something different. I really needed to take a dip in the ocean. And I drove 45 minutes with music blaring in my head the whole time. And I get out of the car at Pacifica, which is just south of San Francisco. I walked through the sacred sands of the beach. And in front of me was a mighty Pacific Ocean. Put my chair down, I put my towel down, and I walked right into the water, which was freaking cold. But I didn't care because I needed to get in. I needed that medicinal feeling from the water, from the ocean. And I just kept walking. And as a wave was just about to hit me, I dove underneath. And boy, did that wake me up. And I stayed in the ocean, in and out for about 15 minutes. I walked out. And as I walked out, I thought, man, that was more rejuvenating than the best cup of coffee ever. I sat down in my chair. I looked out towards Hawaii. Couldn't quite make it out. Noticed the kids playing in the beach, the surfers surfing. I closed my eyes and the sun on my face felt really good. I really needed to be outside. And I just daydreamed for a while. And when I was ready, about 20 minutes later, I stood up, walked to my car, washed my feet off, got in the car, had a change of clothes, and carefully maneuvered different clothes on, dry clothes, drove through Daly City, through Sacramento on 80, over the beautiful Bay Bridge, 68 degrees, pure sunshine. My windows were down, the music was on. I had looked at my map. My hour and 15-minute drive home was going to be about 2.5 hours. It was Saturday night traffic. Normally I would care, but I didn't care. I had nothing to do. I was going to just chill, relax in the car and just let my mind think and wander wherever it wanted to go. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I've got the greatest wife in the world. I have the best wife in the world. I've got the two best daughters in the world. I'm doing what I love to do. I'm filmmaking and speaking and writing a book and writing a newsletter and all of this enriching stuff. I have two sons that have been estranged for 11 years, Shane and Chris. It's a really hard thing. But I thought to myself, I will never, ever give up hope that these two beautiful boys will reach out and try to reconnect with their best dad on earth. Thank you.
Wow.